Today, well, at least in this tutorial video, this is a double of the two, for lack of a better term, lectures, not like you're in college or anything, that I showed you how to do this on the board twice already, and I've worked with you individually. But just in case you want to take it at your own pace, here's a tutorial video on the bass line or the bass track. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to bring up, boom. We're going to bring up the chords and melody. So go ahead and do that now. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to do that. 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. You brought up your chords and melody. It should look different than this. And you might not be in the key of G. That's fine. What you are going to have, if you follow the directions, these two measures right here as reference for the chords. These are the quote-unquote diatonic quote of the scale, from the scale, diatonic chords of whatever key that you're in. So I know that's there, and the Roman numerals are up here, and I ask that you just keep it uppercase or lowercase, because uppercase means that it's a major chord, lowercase means that it's a minor chord. It's just proper that way. And then you went ahead and you wrote a chord progression, and atop the chord progression, you wrote a melody using the other tutorial videos, the other lectures, the other one-on-one help that I gave you. There were some criteria, and the goal was to just make something that just kind of works. It doesn't have to be the best thing in the world. It sounds like it's something out of, I keep saying Coco Melon because I have a young child, and I've watched every episode of Coco Melon ever. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so that music is just part of my life now. And we also voice-led the chords. And that was a whole nother thing. So these chords, as you see, this first one, at least in mine, is in what we call root position, where it's line, line, line. You have 3 consecutive lines, and it's what we call built-in thirds, because 1, 2, 3. This one's 3 notes up from this one. This one's, oh no, don't put that in there. And this one is 3 notes up from this one. It's built-in thirds, it's line, line, line. Or maybe you have one that's space, 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 right? So if it's line, 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 or space, 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 it's in what we call root position. And it's easy to see, the bottom note is what we call the root, or rather, the letter name of the chord. So yeah, this says 1 chord, and yeah, we're in the key of G. But appropriately, more specifically rather, this note is G. This is the pitch. It's G. It's the bottom letter. It's in root positions. The bottom. It's a G major chord. Uppercase Roman numeral 1. Uppercase Roman numeral is major. G is the root, and we can see that because it's in root position. It's a G major. Mr. What? What's root position? Okay, one more time. If it's line, 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 or space, 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 the chord is in root position, meaning the bottom note, in this case G, is the letter name of the chord. So this would be a G major chord. We come down here though. Look, we don't have line, 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 or space, space, space. We have a jumble of spaces and lines. This is not in root position. Oh no, what do we do? Well, we already documented what it is. You use the Roman numerals. This, in my case, would be a 3 chord. So I go up to the reference. Now you see why we have the reference chords. Go up to the reference chord and say, oh, there's 3, and it's in root position already because all of our reference chords are in root position. Mr. What's root position? I'm going to tell you again. It's line, 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 or space, 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 meaning the bottom letter, in this case B, is the root of that chord. Okay, great. So we know what root position is. We know how to determine what that letter is, the bottom note. That's the root of the chord. In this case, this would be a B minor chord. This would be a G major chord. Okay, but why do I need to know that? How is that helpful? Well, now we're going to pull up logic, because in logic, you already did this. Again, these were the directions. I was very explicit about this. You downloaded the MIDI data from your composition on NoteFlight, and you dragged and dropped that into Logic, and then you put some sort of just drums loop, nothing else, just one drum loop, so that you had 3 tracks, melody, chords, drum loop, and you got rid of the first 2 measures, which were just reference, because that's not part of your composition. These are old, this is old news. These are all directions you had already. Old news, old news. So right now, this is what mine sounds like. All right, great. You've heard it a million times. I've been playing it for you. Now, this right here, I'm not going to play for you just yet. This is my bass part. So let's just say, can I go like this? Hide. I want to hide selected tracks. Okay, great. I'm going to hide it. Now, here's where you're at. Your composition is different. Your key may be different. Your chords are probably different. But here's where you're at. What you're going to do now is you're going to add a track by pushing this plus button. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to push that button just like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because some people need 5 seconds to do that. Now, it should default to software instrument. You want to make sure it's software instrument and then push create. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to do that too. 5, 4, 3, 2, push create now. I got to do that because people say, Mr. P, you go so fast. Why do you go so fast? I got to do it. So here we are. Now, we're trying to make a bass track. It defaults to electric piano. Well, we have a library of instruments. You're just going to go to the first one that says bass. You know, don't type, just go here. Just go here. It says bass. And just choose the first thing that pops up. For right now, we can change it later. It doesn't matter. You got it. You got a bass. You got a bass. Now, how am I going to write in the MIDI data? I don't see anything here. Well, I'm double clicking. What do I do? Well, you actually have to tell the DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, Logic, that you want to write some MIDI data. So in this blank area right here, you're going to right click. You're going to right click and go create MIDI region. And it's going to create a MIDI region of 1 measure. We want to extend that to 4 measures because your composition is 4 measures long if you follow the directions. Now, as always, you take your mouse and you go to the right. There's one function at the top of this little clip that will loop it. So whatever you wrote here in measure 1 will just get looped. That's not what we want to do. We want to extend the area, the whole area. We don't want to loop this one little area. We want to extend the whole area. So you're going to take your mouse and put it on the bottom area, the bottom bracket with the little arrow. Click hold while you're holding and you're clicking. You're holding that click. You're going to drag it all the way across till it goes across 4 measures. See, measure 5 begins here. We went across 4 measures. Now when you double click in that MIDI region, it's a blank MIDI region, you'll get the piano roll. Boom. Bass. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're going to have, just like the chords, we're going to have one in the bass. The bass is going to play the root of the chord. We're going to have that one note, whatever that root is, whatever it is. We're going to have that one note going across a whole measure. All these little boxes from 1 to 2. Now, I'm going to go back to here because you're going to have both these up. Note flight up, logic up. The root of my first chord is G. So I'm going to come down here and C, D, E, F, G. I'm going to put a G in there. What is it going to sound better if I go down an octave? Yeah, I'm going to go down there. There's a G. I'm going to paste the note and I'm going to make sure. Hello. What? Paste. Are you kidding me? Okay, all right. All right, sometimes computers get a little glitchy. All right, there is a G. It's the root of the first chord. Lasts for a measure. Great. Come back up here. What's the root of the chord in the next measure? Here's the second measure of my composition. Here's the second measure of my track from the composition. What's the root of this? Is it an F? No, because it's not in root position. 3. Up to my reference, 3. What's the bottom note? Every good burger. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the good burger. It's a B. Okay, let's come back here and find a B. C, B, because B comes before C. and that's the alphabet. Come over here. Boom! And it lasts for a whole measure. Great. And if it didn't last for a whole measure, oh look, make it last for a whole measure. Great. Let's go on to measure 3. Measure 1, measure 2, measure 3 of our composition. Not 1, 2, 3, because this is not part of the composition. This is reference. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's find the root of the chord. Mister, what's the root of the chord? Oh, well, if the chord is in root position, it's space, 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 or line, line, line. And then the bottom note of that sequence is the letter name root of the chord. It's the letter name of the chord. This is a G major chord. Okay, so then is this the root of the chord? No, because it's not space, 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 or line, 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 is it? Because you inverted it probably because we voice let it. So we have to go from 4, okay, we got the Roman numeral 4. Let's go up to our reference. All the reference chords are in root position. Look at that, space, space, space. What's the bottom letter? F-A-C. I'm talking over it, I don't care. It's a C. Come back in here. There's a C. Come over here. Put in a C. Boom. Finally, we're here. It's the 2 chord. Here's the 2 chord. There's an A. So it's an A minor chord. A. A is the root. A. Right here. 2. 2. 2. You might not have a 2, but I have a 2, so I'm going to put an A in. I'm going to talk over him. I swear I'm going to talk over him the whole time. I don't care. I'm not stopping the video. I'm not doing this whole thing again. There is my bass part. It's going to be louder than in fact, the bass track that I hid before, how do I unhide it? I'm going to show you this. I took those same notes, and then I just used the rhythm of the kick drum, and you'll hear it goes along with the kick drum. So if you want to take it a step further, you can then take that one note from the bass and then follow the rhythm of whatever your kick drum is, which I don't know what it is because it's your loop that you put it in. My loop is different. I use the break beat from one of the previous units. This is the break beat from the song Apache. But maybe you don't use one of the break beats that you curated. Maybe you just use one of the loops. So if you want to take it a step further, oh, thank goodness. Wow. Woo, that took a lot of energy. I just had to talk and be louder over that whole set of announcements. I don't even know what he said. I'm really hoping it wasn't important. I should probably call the office. Then I took that one note. If you listen to the kick drum here. So I listened to that bottom note of the kick drum, and I tried to figure out in each measure what that rhythm was. So if you really want to try to do that, you can make it sound that little extra bit special. So you hear that the bass and the kick drum are like one instrument now. And you can always go back and change. Let's see, what pick bass, muted bass, Liverpool bass. It's like the Beatles. Even got the Paul McCartney Beatle bass. That sounds all right. How about studio bass, upright studio bass? It doesn't sound as good as I thought it would. Subby bass. Have fun, prog rock. I like me some Dream Theater. Some Neil Peart. All right, so anyway, that's how you do the bass part, and then basically you sit back and you look at it and you just look with awe, in awe of yourself. Look at what I've done. You can say, I just made an entire composition and subsequent musical production track from scratch. Scratch. Okay? You got an itch? Scratch it. Okay? From scratch. Food tastes, I keep saying this, food tastes better from scratch. You get rid of itches by scratching them. Scratch. You did it. But I want it. Like, I want to see it. I want to hear it. I want to see it. So send me, you're going to obviously save this, but send me the logic file. And here's how you're going to do that. Let's just say come back down here. And I don't believe you have to zip it, but here's my chords melody full track that yours should say the same thing on your desktop. If you right click and go compress, I don't believe you have to do this, but it'll definitely make the process of sending it quicker. Any minute now. This little zip file, as we call it, because it's got a zipper on it. It's like a suitcase. It piled all that stuff into a very small file, so it's easier to send. Then when it gets to me, when I open it up, I unzip it, and out pops your track. All right. So you want to attach the actual track itself. And I could always make an MP3 from it. So don't send me an MP3, send me the actual track. I want to see it, I want to look at it, I want to hear it. I want you to send me the session, rather, itself. I don't know why that's taking so long. Oh, because the program's open. All right, well, kids, it looks like I just broke my computer. So I'm going to go. Ask me questions. I'll see you in future tutorial videos. Okay, great.